All right, everybody in our ESR and RWB. Why was that so hard? Welcome to Silverstone for the fourth round of the Super Saturday Series Tier 3, which I'll be doing from commentary from the replay because the recording for this one, as well as the Tier 2, actually failed the exact same way. It was very, very strange. Very interested to see if I can figure out what the deal with that is. But anyways, things have been working since, so presumably we're okay. And yeah, so there's some advantages of doing this off the replay. One is I'm going to be able to rewind a little bit. I'm not going to hunt down every single little thing, though. It'll be kind of like a rewind if there is something notable to grab, and I think I can do it quickly, like within, say, 20 seconds. Otherwise, things will get really, really long. And number two, actually, that's really about it. Number two is I guess I don't have to yell at the cameraman. I get to direct things. Big downside, though, is we lose like the pit stop thing on the standings there. You can see that everybody has done their pit stop, so that's a bit problematic. So that's going to be a little bit of a thing for me to keep track of, but I should be able to do it. And obviously I'm doing this solo with no color man because having a color commentator for this would probably divide my attention too many different ways. And also we have this big black bar at the bottom that is covering up the timeline because the timeline is a bit of a spoiler. Now I could put the broadcasting tool up on another screen and that would solve some problems, except that it really wouldn't because the timeline does pop up even if because you're moving your mouse. So that's a problem. You also will have a live mic this whole time because push to talk also messes with the game. So you may hear some things in the background that are not ideal, like for example, my squirt bottle when I need a beverage. It's just a hockey water bottle. So if you're Canadian, you're very familiar with the sound. If not, maybe not. Anyways, let's get this on. So let's start off with the grid. Up front, we have the Bentley Continental of Voodoo, the 728 car, the 777 car of Max Simmons in the car guy Ferrari. Third place belongs to Karn Racing Kim Johansson in the McLaren 720. Kate Warburton in the Jensen Team Rocket RJN machine will start from P4. Marcus Subtotal in the Aston Martin will start from 5th. By the way, very strong outing from the British brands because outside of Simmons, the top 5 is all the British brands of Bentley, McLaren, and Aston Martin. No Jaguars, though. Starting in 6th place will be Simsak Beal in the Lexus, followed by Daniel Madringa in the AF Corsa Ferrari, Javier Perez Torres in the Emile Frey Lexus. Then it'll be David Nelson in the Tech 1 Lexus. Fair number of Lexuses here today. Big Al in the Ferrari for RWB International. That's a pretty nice livery, actually. I like that. Morpheus 1975 in the Team Simsak Porsche, along with RWB Robert in the Porsche as well. And then the other Jensen Team Rocket RJN. Don't know if there's any relation between the two, but Nick Postima will start from 13th place with the Aston Martin. I believe that is the V12 Vantage of Jagged Dice. So let's get this rolling. We do have a warm-up here as everybody's getting their cars ready. So let's talk about Silverstone while I got the moment here. Silverstone is an excellent track, very challenging, a lot of different types of turns. We have some fast speed stuff, some slow speed stuff. Very challenging all the way around. You need to get Abbey and Copse in particular very correctly because you can lose a lot of time through there. And of course, the Maggotts and Becketts section is a famously difficult section of the track. So get ready for that to be a potentially difficult element of this race. Tier 3, of course, is the lowest tier of the Super Saturday Series competition. So these are, in theory, the worst drivers, but that being said, there are some very good drivers in this field. Max Simmons, of course, is a guy I'm very familiar with, very solid driver, and the fact that he is being beaten by Mr. Voodoo suggests very good things about Voodoo. I think I've heard good things about Johansson as well as Subtotal and Beal. Javier Perez Torres, of course, is my 3D Speed teammate. This is his replay, by the way. That's why he's got the white number beside his name instead of the red. That is the position number, I should say. And those are all very competent drivers, and the fact that they're not running away with things suggests that there are other competent drivers in the mix here that I'm just not very familiar with, like Warburton and... Well, Daniel Madringa I'm very familiar with. His speed is impressive, and I am being messaged on Facebook. Allow me to check out what's going on there. It is just someone wishing me a happy Thanksgiving. So that is all that is. We are getting ready to kick off here. That was my phone going off with probably the exact same message. This is the problem with the live microphone is you will hear stuff like that. So this is a 60-minute race with a mandatory pit stop for tires here today. And we'll see what happens with that. And yeah, we're just waiting for it to kick off here. I'm going to speed it up a little bit here. Let's get it up to ×2 speed, see if we can make things happen. Also, I can adjust the playback speed, so we can do like some slow-mo replays maybe, and see what happens. That'll be neat. I hear the car is turning on now, so we should be approaching the starting point. You can see pole sitter Voodoo turning his car on, and off we go. So it will be Voodoo who leads them away, so the all-yellow front row. The all-McLaren second row, and then things get a little bit more interesting with the likes of Beal and also Marcus Subtootle. I forgot who was in the Aston Martin there for a half a second. Looks like we might be missing Jagged Dice. There he is, rolling into picture, so he's a little very slow off the start, and here we go. Welcome to Silverstone, and it is a side-by-side battle for the lead between Max Simmons as well as... Let's see if we can get a better view here. Up in the helicopter cam here, we got Max Simmons has taken the lead over Voodoo in the Ferrari versus the Bentley, and they are well ahead of the rest of the pack. You can see it is Kate Warburton, I do believe, in third place in the McLaren 720, and Johansson has disappeared. Johansson started in P3 and is way off. Somebody in the background is very off track. Not sure who that is. We'll avoid trying to shame them for the moment. So it is currently currently Max Simmons leading the way from Voodoo. Warburton, I believe that is Beal in fourth place in the Lexus, and Beal is trying to get side by side with Warburton. That does not work out well, so Warburton returns third place for the time being. You also get my cursor on the screen, I think, during this. So Beal. Simsock Beal in fourth place. Marcus Subtotal's in fifth. Javi Perez Torres is up to sixth, ahead of Big Al in the Ferrari. Daniel Madringa's Ferrari is in eighth place, followed by Dave Nelson, RWB Robert, Nick Postima, and Morpheus has gotten past Postima. So let's do a quick rewind there and see if we can find that out. So here we are. Nope, he's already ahead at this point, so it's quite a ways back. Never mind. Won't go for it. It looks like it's just too far back for us to really track down because Morpheus is already ahead of Postima there in the Jensen Rocket car. And that is Kim Johansson at the back of the pack. So something happened to him that was quite terrible, and is Jay Dice at the back of the pack. Back at the front, Max Simmons in the lead in the car guy Ferrari. Very quick driver. He's got on his tail the Bentley of Voodoo, the pole sitter. Warburton in third. Simsock Beal still in fourth place, and Subtotal. So it looks like these five are kind of getting away. Javier Perez Torres is a little bit further back, but he does have Big Al on his tail, so he's not lonely at all. Madringa, Nelson, RWB Robert. RWB Robert under pressure from Postima. He's lost a spot to Morpheus. Let's see if we can check that out. Oh, okay. It looks like we might have had some contact here between RWB Robert and Morpheus. There it is. Morpheus with the very aggressive dive bomb makes his way through, and that almost opened the door for Nick Postima as well. If I'm pronouncing anyone's names incorrectly, please let me know. I am only super familiar with the 4 ESR guys that are in the field here, which are Simmons, Javier Perez Torres, Dave Nelson, and I swear there was a fourth one. Oh, Madringa. Daniel Madringa. Oh, no! Postima collects RWB Robert and forces them both off. That's going to let Johansson through, and here comes Jay Dice as well. So that's going to put RWB Robert to the back of the pack. In the meantime, at the front, it is still Max Simmons leading the way from the Bentley of... From the Bentley of... That is Voodoo. Why was I blanking on the name? I don't know why. Anyways, Voodoo in second place. Third place still belongs to Warburton, but she has dropped a bit back. I am presuming that Kate is a female. If not, give me shit in the comments below. Simsock Beal in fourth place still. Then it is Subtotal. Javi Perez Torres has dropped back, and then Emil Frey Lexus. He's kind of getting a little bit lonely now, as Big Al under pressure from Madringa and Dave Nelson in the Lexus. So that is Ferrari on Ferrari. Big Al. Don't know what the A stands for, but it is A Big Al versus Daniel Madringa. Madringa looking to get down on the outside, and it looks like he will. So that's Daniel Madringa up into 7th position there in the Ferrari AF Corsa car. Dave Nelson in 9th, followed by Morpheus 1975, might be facing a penalty for that dive bomb. And the man charging back through the field is Kim Johansson. Don't know what happened to him at the start, or her, but started in 3rd place and is now back in 11th. That is a bit of a problem. We'll have to keep an eye out for any pit stops, because like I said, the pit stop tracker will not be working on the screen right now. Morpheus is under very big pressure from Johansson. This is probably the fight I'm going to stick with for like a little bit. There's a significant theoretical pace gap between these two, as we see Madringa officially being credited with 7th place. We saw the overtake a while ago, but of course the updates only come at the timing lines. Johansson looking for a move here. Nothing doing at this time. And it kind of makes me wonder, can we get just on board with Johansson for a little bit? Yes, we can. Johansson currently in 11th place, trailing Morpheus 1975 as we come across the line to complete the lap. On to lap number 3. It is still Simmons, Voodoo, Warburton. Subtotal's gotten ahead of Beal. Wonder what happened there. Or maybe not. Oh, no, never mind. He is ahead. That was the McLaren of Kate Warburton having some problems. Beal is gone. I don't see Beal. Oh, Beal is very off the track. Hang on. We need to get a look at this. So Beal had been overtaken by Marcus Subtotal seemingly legitimately. What happened to the Lexus? Gets a little bit out of shape at Maggotts and Becketts and veers off the track. It'll be interesting to see where he rejoins. Trying to go safely, I think. Avoiding Daniel Madringa there. Big Al through. That'd be Dave Nelson. There is Morpheus 1975 coming through, as well as Johansson. So rejoins behind Joe Hansen for 11th place. Postima, RWB Robert, and Jay Dice quite off the back of the pack right now. Back to the front with Max Simmons leading the way in the car guy Ferrari. 777 car currently battling with Voodoo in the Bentley. Warburton in 3rd place still. Then it is Subtotal, Perez Torres, Madringa, Nelson, Morpheus, Johansson, Beal, Postima, Robert, Dice. Everyone getting a little bit stretched out now, but still close enough that there is some action to be found. And probably the most important battle right now is this one here between the cars, the Ferrari of Max Simmons and the Bentley of Voodoo. Voodoo looking for a move down the inside. Can he get it done? No. Just taking a peek. Didn't look like he was tremendously committed to the move. Johansson, in the meantime, is right up on the back of Morpheus, who's right up on the back of Nelson, and right at the back of this pack is the Lexus of Beal. So things are quite tough. Oh, side-by-side action between Big Al and Madringa. And it looks like Big Al's going to get it, but Madringa might still have it here. Nope. Big Al says, thank you very much. I will take 6th place. And moving up in the world, I think this pack is probably where we're going to stick for a little bit, because it goes back from 6th place Big Al all the way back to 11th place Simsock Beal. At the front, pressure's on also at the front. Simmons has only got a 2/10 lead. And in fact, Dave Nelson now may be on the charge against Madringa. So Madringa might be off the kilter, and he's very off the track there. Not sure if there was contact. Was there? Or did he just lose it through Maggotts and Becketts? Looks like the latter. Madringa very off the track there. Dave Nelson going to go through along with, I imagine, Morpheus, Johansson, and Beal. And I am correct in saying that. Madringa is quite a ways off the back, actually. Quite a way off. We can see Nick Postema in the far background as Kim Johansson up to 9th place, looking to get past Morpheus 1975. Never mind. Beal cuts inside on him and overtakes him at, I believe that was Stowe. So Simsock Beal up a spot ahead of Kim Johansson. And onto the tail of Morpheus 1975. At the front, it is still Simmons, Voodoo, Warburton, Subtotal, Perez Torres, and then the big drop back to the fight we're watching now between Big Al and Dave Nelson as Beal goes down the inside of Morpheus, and I believe he's got himself another spot. So that's two quick places for Simsock Beal in the unliveried Lexus, as far as I can tell. Must not have the... Maybe I'm missing a custom livery there, or maybe it's not in the pack. I don't know. But Simsock Beal up a position now into... That is now going to be behind Nelson, so that's going to be 8th place. And there is the update there. Morpheus still ahead of Johansson. Madringa off the back end of this fight as well. Up ahead, it looks like Big Al has managed to gap Dave Nelson just a bit to get a little security there in 6th place. And Max Simmons is legging it. It looks like it's up to 0.8 of a second. That's the largest I think that lead over Voodoo has been. And I think it might be that Voodoo put in a bad lap because Warburton has closed in on him about 2 to 3 tenths of a second. So maybe a mistake from Voodoo. Maybe a failed overtaking attempt as well would be possible. In the meantime, Johansson looking for a way past Morpheus, but none is coming at this time. And Jay Dice has dropped down a lap, so let's check out on him. Or no, he's not down a lap. I think he's just quite a ways behind. Best lap of 2:11.7. Check in on the leaders. Oh, that does not look like 0.7 of a second and more between Simmons and Voodoo. Voodoo on the charge again. Putting the pressure on. This is home ground for the Bentley. It's home ground for the McLaren. It's home ground for the Aston Martin. It is not home ground for the Ferrari. So Max Simmons holding up the British train right now in the 777 Ferrari car. Not getting a timing update that suggests that Voodoo is all that much closer, but that does not look like 0.7 to me. That looks a lot closer than that. And there it is. It's down to 0.2 of a second. That's what the 2.33 looks like. In the meantime, Warburton further back. Not getting a timing update on... Oh, there we go. So Warburton's dropped a little bit back. Subtotal. Perez Torres is closing on Subtotal. And Dave Nelson's back up on the back of Big Al by the looks of it. Oh, never mind. We got an update. It's actually 0.8 of a second, so it's grown a little bit. Beal's still in 8th place. Then it is Morpheus. Madringa has gotten past Johansson. And Johansson's ahead of Beal. So hang on. Something has happened here. For sure. There's Beal off the track. So something had happened to Johansson beforehand that caused him to lose a spot to Madringa. And there is Simsock Beal losing control of the car. So what happened with Johansson? No, that's Madringa on the tail of Morpheus. I don't think we can find out what happened to why Johansson's ended up behind Madringa all that easily. But something probably happening there. Check in with Javier Perez Torres, overtaking Marcus Subtotal. Psychic skills. Getting the job done and up into 4th place. So that does mean that the top 4 is split 2 RWB, 2 ESR drivers. That's interesting. There's a certain parallel there, a certain balance, as it were. And it looks like we have lost Jay Dice from the race as he is no longer shown on the leaderboard. That puts RWB Robert, the admin, at the back of the pack. Javier Perez Torres running in 4th place. We had not paid a lot of attention to him, so we'll hang on with him for a bit here as he battles with Marcus Subtotals, Aston Martin. Javier up 2 spots from his P6 on the grid. Not sure. We still don't know what happened with Johansson. And that overtake on Subtotal is the other portion of that. There is the podium positions of Simmons, Voodoo, and Warburton up ahead. It will get a little bit confusing if we get Warburton near Postima at any point, because they are running the exact same livery. So we'll see what we'll see if I can keep them straight. All right, what else is going on here? Let's dart around a bit. This is probably the closest battle on the track, actually. So let's just stick with it. And that is the battle between Javier Perez Torres and Marcus Subtotal over 4th place. Never mind, Dave Nelson is all over the back of Big Al, apparently. In the other in one of the other Lexuses, there's also Simsock Beal, and in the background, Madringa has overtaken. That was Morpheus. Let's get a quick rewind on that. Good run into, not sure what turn this actually is. My apologies to any Silverstone nuts. I'm sure you know it very well, but I don't. I've never been able to keep these tracks all that straight. So that's Madringa up into 8th place then, ahead of Morpheus. And Kim Johansson's going to be right on the back of that battle as well. So Simmons leading from Voodoo, Warburton, Perez Torres, Subtotal, Big Al, Nelson. Then it's going to be Madringa, Morpheus. Then it is Johansson, Beal, Postima, and Robert. Or Postima? I'm not sure which. Not sure which is more likely, to be honest. Nelson all over the back end of, that is Big Al through Maggotts and Becketts. Battle at the front is still very close, only 0.3 of a second separating Voodoo from Max Simmons. So Dave Nelson trying to run up behind Big Al in the Ferrari. Lexus v Ferrari, a true luxury brand fight. Actually, I must say, the Lexus RCF that you're seeing on our screen is actually the first Lexus car I think I ever sat in and went, I like this car. It's a really nice inside feeling. I'm traditionally a heavily anti-Lexus individual, just on like a principle of like not enjoying luxury brands. But here we go as the fight continues. Lexus doing quite well here today with 4th and 7th place, although their leader, Simsock Beal, who was the fastest Lexus in qualifying, back in 10th place. He has overtaken Morpheus. So, ooh. Well, Morpheus is quite a ways back. I'm not sure if we can track that down, but I would say something may have happened to the Team Simsock Porsche. So we pull in with Marcus Subtotal still on the tail of Javier Perez Torres in the battle for 4th position. And then up ahead it is Voodoo, Team Highmind up in 2nd place, right on the bumper of Max Simmons. So Simmons is under pressure. We will see what happens as far as that goes. I like the wheels there, the red rims, very nice. I was going to say, it looked like Warburton might have been getting closer, but per the gap, it's still more than 3 seconds. So, well, let's see here. Let's get a timing update. Okay, a little bit closer, 0.2, but still 2.8, so not in any kind of striking range, almost 3 seconds. And well ahead of Javier Perez Torres, who has Subtotal on his tail. So that battle's going on. So 1st and 4th appear to be the hot zones. Although Big Al, Dave Nelson still scrapping over 6th place as well. Madringa is kind of within striking distance of Kim Johansson, but the fact that Johansson overtook Madringa relatively recently and again was 3rd on the grid makes me think that that's maybe a false dawn on the battle. And Madringa's problem might be coming from behind him, and that is the Lexus of Simsock Beal. And, well, that image right there tells you all you need to know, I think, is Beal is going for the move here against Madringa. Cannot white get it done in the number 89 Lexus. So Max Simmons has had a stressful day up front, but has led pretty much since the start. In fact, not a lot of changing in the top three, although Warburton is drawing a little closer. That's down to 2.7 seconds now, so a tenth in that last sector was taken out of Voodoo. And this fierce battle back here from about 6th back to 10th, from Big Al to Beal. In fact, I think Big Al has dropped a spot to Nelson. Am I correct? He has! Nelson got past Big Al. Let's see if we can find... Oh, I think I know. I think I see it. Big Al running a bit wide. And, yep, that will cost him a spot. Maybe two. Kim Johansson not diving down the inside. Johansson currently running in 8th place. The big loser from the grid positions, but still charging, still hard coming. And up the inside of Big Al, McLaren versus Ferrari. In the background, the other Ferrari of Daniel Madringa is in trouble against Simsock Beal's Lexus. And in fact, I think Johansson did get it done. So Big Al, going backwards, was 6th, now 8th. And we'll see if Johansson can get up with Dave Nelson and then maybe get up to where I'm sure Johansson thinks is really the location that that they need to be fighting in, having qualified very, very well. Meantime, at the front, it is still Simmons leading by 3, a little under 4/10 of a second, I would say, over Voodoo's Bentley. Of course, a little part of me cheering for the Bentley, a little part of me wants to see that British make on the top of the podium at the end of the race. That would be kind of nice. Also, be kind of nice because Max Simmons is a sandbagger. And it should not be in this tier. Oh, hang on a second. Beal is getting frisky. Big Al has been caught up badly by Madringa and by Beal. And Beal, I think, has got the position on Madringa. So that is going to be 9th place for Simsock Beal, overtaking Daniel Madringa. Beal is the other one that feels a little bit out of place. I was talking about Johansson being out of place. Beal also feels a little bit that way. Qualified fairly high and has not had a great race due to mistakes of their own, possibly mistakes of others. I'm not sure, but anyways, this pits him or her back up into 9th place at Madringa, and I think Big Al might be a fish waiting to be cooked, as might be Dave Nelson, because Johansson is just cruised up behind Johansson. Best lap of a 2:01.2 versus Nelson's 2:02.3. So like there's probably about a delta of about a second between these two cars, and that will mean that we are looking at a pretty decent spot for Johansson right now. Big Al under pressure as well from Beal. Beal unable to make a move at this time. At the front, it is a 3/10 gap. Still, Warburton is closing on the top two, as is Javier Perez Torres. Actually, Perez Torres might be the one, might be honestly the mover and shaker right now. He's got that gap down to 5.1, and Subtotal's coming right with him. So things could be interesting there. Nelson still hanging on against Johansson up ahead. And we have a look at Beal trying to get down the inside. Nothing doing at this time. Oh, maybe. I think Big Al went a little bit wide there. And indeed, it's going to be into the chicane. It is going to be Beal, who moves into 8th position ahead of Big Al. Big move from the Lexus. Madringa now going to be the one looking to get past Big Al. Seems like Big Al is just kind of off the rocker right now. A little bit shaken from a mistake that led to him losing a spot. He's now lost 2 more since. Let's give a little bit of love to the people further back. This is Morpheus in the Simsock Porsche, not really racing anyone right now. Nick Postima in the McLaren, and RWB Robert in the Porsche. Back to the front, Max Simmons still leads by 4/10 of a second. Over, well, yeah, it is still 4/10 of a second over the Bentley of Voodoo. Javier Perez-Torres is coming on really, really strong right now. He's putting in some good laps and has got that gap down to 4.6 to Warburton. That means that that does mean he is, I think, getting a little bit closer to the lead as well, and has gotten that gap to subtotal out to a second, which I think, if memory serves, is about as large as that gap has been all race. So there is the battle for the lead. There is Warburton in third, and there is Javier. That does not look like a second anymore, so subtotal might have pulled it back a little bit in the Aston Martin, but still fairly comfortable gap there for the Lexus driver to work on. Go Javi! Vortex GT Racing, Brad! Of course, Javier, one of my two teammates in the 3D Speed Wednesday series, which everyone is welcome to check out. We race every second Wednesday. And, well, we race every Wednesday, but it only counts every second Wednesday. We do have a practice race beforehand. And that is the only series I'll be active in for the time being, because my pedals are not behaving themselves, and I'm on a team, so I don't want to let the team down. But it is incredibly frustrating when the pedals just decide, yeah, we're not going to really work right now, but subtotal is getting really close to Javier, so that Aston Martin has put on the afterburners and is looking to make a move on the Lexus. And we'll check further back real quick. So, guys, don't do anything, because Johansson's all over the back end of Dave Nelson. This battle for 6th place. Beal is a little bit behind this, about 2.5 seconds, actually. So they pulled away. Beal is leaving Big Al and Madringa a little bit for dead, though. So he is pretty solid in that 8th place position. Again, if any incorrect identifiers of gender occur, because Kate Warburton has gotten me thinking that we might have women on the grid. I know that they do exist. I have met some. But the kind of generic thought is that it's a guy until I kind of pointed out otherwise. So please do excuse me if I'm referring to anyone as a he that is not a he. Dave Nelson still hanging on to 6th place against Johansson. It's surprising he's been able to do that, to be honest, a little bit, just because, I mean, again, you have to look at the best laps here. 2:01.6 for Johansson, 2:02.1. So, I mean, we're talking, or 2:01.2 and then 2:01.1. So, we're talking about a 9/10 gap here in terms of, like, outright high-end pace. And that definitely is a little bit surprising to see that Johansson's not been able to make more inroads into Nelson, and they are in fact losing ground to Simsock Beal in the meantime, as his Lexus is getting closer. And it would be remiss of me not to talk about what looks like a pretty good battle going on here between Big Al and Daniel Madringa. Ferrari on Ferrari action, battle for 9th place. Doing quite well. We've lost one car so far, and of course, Morpheus, Postima, and RWB Robert have had some incidents that have kind of limited them to the back marker role in this race, but we will see if they can maybe have a triumphant comeback in the long run. But I can't stay with them for now. Oh, RWB Robert in the pits, because Max Simmons is under pressure from Voodoo. I saw it had gotten down to less than 1/10 of a second, and this is the battle for the lead, so sorry everybody else, you are now in the secondary here. They've lost a fair bit of ground to Warburton, it should be mentioned, who's made up over a second, and there goes into the pit lane the Bentley of Voodoo. So he has decided to try to go for the undercut here a little bit early, in my opinion. I wouldn't have really thought of pitting until after, you know, the 30-second or the 30-minute mark, 30-second mark, I might say. We'll see where Voodoo comes out, because that will be key, because I think he'll be coming out into traffic. And there is a look at Dave Nelson once again, still running in 6th place, still hanging on against Johansson. Might get promoted into 5th place here, at least for the time being, depending on, probably will actually, because I think Voodoo will come out quite a ways back. I'm not sure what the pit delta here would be, but the field had not gotten all that spread out aside from Postima, Morpheus, and Robert. So I think, personally, I think this is maybe a mistake by Voodoo as far as pitting a little bit too early, but we'll see what happens with Voodoo as we still pay attention to Dave Nelson. Subtotals all over the back of Javier Perez-Torres, who I don't think can do much more, because he is actually catching Warburton, so he's doing good laps. It's just Subtotals just got that little bit of pace, the extra couple of tenths. Voodoo now being shown in 5th. Actually, there we are. Is Voodoo coming out of the pits? Voodoo rejoining. It says in 8th, but I'm not entirely sold on it because I think that's Postima ahead of him. So he's rejoined in 12th place, I think. I think Morpheus and Postima are both ahead of him. Because again, there are 2 Jensen Rocket cars, but I think that one is the car of Postima. Indeed, shown in 12th place. So that would be Postima. And not Voodoo. Still don't have confirmation on it because he is still shown on the position charts as ahead of Postima. But I think he's behind. There it is. Yeah, Voodoo back to 12th place. So I think he pitted too early. RWB Robert went with the early pit stop, possibly to cure some damage. But he was in last anyways. It was worth rolling the dice. I think this is a mistake. Because now he is behind Postima, who might be able to hold him up somewhat. And again, I also... conspiracy theories, Postima is running the same livery as Kate Warburton. So, Warburton was in 3rd behind Voodoo. Is there some kind of teammate arrangement here? I don't know. Javier Perez-Torres is dropping, but I think, and I am correct, that is a pit stop for the Lexus driver. We will see where he comes out, although, I mean, I think we know it's going to be behind Voodoo. Anyways, we'll pay attention to Voodoo here for a bit. Actually, no, let's have a look at a battle that we've been following, and that may have actually come to a head, and that is Johansson versus Nelson. Can we see the overtake? Can we get it? We can. Here we go. Johansson on the inside gets the better of Dave Nelson, and that is going to be for 5th place on track, 6th place overall. So many people not having the updated the customization to get the their names in the board there, because you can see the PLY for Johansson, but the DAV for Dave Nelson. I assume going with Dave, so non-standard small short form. But I mean, I should do that. I should really just start using BO as my short form because MAG sometimes gets taken. All right, Voodoo still on the tail of Nick Postima, and like I said, I think this is not working out for him because Postima is putting up a good fight in that McLaren 720 against the Bentley. And sure, this is not really his race. He has to make a pit stop. Voodoo does not. Now, whether he knows that or not, I don't know. But at the same time, there is no rule that says that Postima can't do exactly what he's doing and race for position, because this is for position. And Postima hanging on there into Maggotts and Becketts. And that very lovely Braun-inspired McLaren 720 for Jensen Button's team. We're up to 31 minutes gone in the race, about a little over halfway. Should see some more pit stops. I know we've seen pit stops from Javier. Voodoo had a really bad pit stop, I think, because Javier is up in 7th. Oh, no, okay, Javier's dropping. Okay, so we haven't figured out where Javier is. Okay. I was going to be very alarmed if Javier is way ahead of him. And finally, oh no! Contact! Voodoo gets spun around. Oh, lovely J-turn. And Postima may face repercussions from the stewards from that. I don't know. Didn't get a tremendously great look at it. Don't want to break it down now. That's something for the steward's office. But excellent recovery by Voodoo. And that is Javier Perez-Torres in behind them in the Emile Frey Lexus. So he is behind Voodoo. This is a battle for 7th now, so we must have had pit stops from Beal, Madringa, and Big Al. And there you can see Beal's rejoin, Madringa, Big Al, and of course RWB Robert kind of off in his world of his own. Let's check in with the leader, Max Simmons now. A little secret here that the RWB crew may not be aware of. Max Simmons will always pit late. He is insane in this regard, and is a sandbagger. But he is coming up to Big Al, so he might actually be staying out a little bit too long because they're running into some traffic here. That is Warburton, I believe, in behind him. Yeah, the number 24 car of Kate Warburton. And then RWB Robert, who's a lap down. Morpheus, who's a lap down, but I doubt is actually in 6th place. So I suspect that is a pit stop point of view. There is Voodoo. Postima is now ahead of Javi, so Javi is now in the same spot as Voodoo was in. But look at how close they are. Keep in mind that Javi was in 4th place, quite a ways back, something like 6 seconds behind Voodoo, and is now not. And he's having to pay the same price. And the main people that you would think Voodoo is looking at, Max Simmons and Kate Warburton, are still out there and may be able to avoid the any kind of traffic on their pit stops. So that is coming. Oh, contact! And Postima gets spun again. If I was him, I might want to get into the pit lane. Kind of get out of this whole mess. Because I do, as much as I admire the fight, I do have to look at the tactical problems of fighting with guys who are on fresh tires and who were way up the road from you. So I think he has lost a fair amount of ground. So I think if I'm him, I might be thinking about getting into the pit lane. By the way, Simmons has opened up a 10-second lead over Warburton. So Warburton is not... Oh, okay. Maybe that's just a pit stop talking. Okay. So Warburton's in the pits. See where that ends up. Because the interesting thing will be Warburton versus the Bentley of Voodoo. There was about a 4, maybe 5-second gap between the two. And I think that between the J-turn recovery and the battle with Postima, that Voodoo probably has lost out on 2nd place here. We'll see. Morpheus is the other car that is still out on track that has not pitted, along with Simmons. I think everyone else appears to have gotten in. Postima maybe not. But I think everybody else has made their pit stops. We'll see. So there is the pit entrance. Where is the McLaren of Warburton? Can we see it? Should be somewhere in this area, although both Perez Torres and Voodoo have had some issues. That might be it right there. That might be Warburton right up ahead. It is Warburton. So Warburton has come out ahead of Voodoo, and that is for 2nd place. Behind Max Simmons in the 777 Ferrari. He is yet to pit, I do believe. So Voodoo is now behind Warburton. And it looks like Morpheus, who's listed there in 3rd place, has gone into the pits at some point. And we just haven't gotten a timing adjustment yet. So Voodoo, I think, losing out on the undercut. Now, we'll see. It depends. Now, if Simmons runs super long, starts running into some bad lap times, which actually makes me ask the question, what is his last lap? His last lap was a 2:01.9, which sounds good until you realize it's actually about 1.4 seconds off his best. Although that might have been him getting through against Morpheus 1975 there, under perhaps blue flags. So, whoa, a little bit of stuff there to get up to Big Al. So I was trying to figure out where Morpheus was. Looks like he is behind Big Al, so probably second last outside of RWB Robert, who of course has had a pretty rough day. Although I think Postima is yet to pit, so there still is some interest there from the McLaren number 25 car that is currently shown in 6th place. I believe still needs to pit along with Max Simmons. So we're going to follow Simmons here for a little bit and see. So let's see here. What is the gap between Simmons and Warburton, I guess, is the question. We don't have it yet because we got the +1 lap shown, which means we're still waiting for a timeline to get them back onto the same lap to get a time. We probably won't get it because it's too far. That is the one problem with the timing system, unfortunately, with ACC, is the whole timeline factor means that you're not always able to get a really good look at what the gaps are in like these kind of pit stop scenarios like you'd want. Because it would be very, very interesting to know where Simmons has been in terms of like pace. We've seen the last 2 laps he's had have been kind of subpar. And he's now stuck behind Big Al under blue flags. He's probably losing some more time. So while I think Voodoo pitted too early, I'm starting to question if Max Simmons has pitted too late in the race. We'll find out. Also, the battle between Javier Perez Torres and Marcus Subtotal still going on. There is the blue flag, so Big Al is being told to be ready to get out of the way. Of course, we do not require blue flag cars to do anything particularly extreme to get out of the way. Which, to be honest, might be kicking... Oh, there we go. Okay. I think he's letting him through here. Well, maybe not. Or maybe he was, and Simmons just hasn't managed to get it done. They come down to Stowe. There we go. Okay, so Simmons is clear. But, like, for comparison purposes, as I completely have lost the plot. I was trying not to use this as much as I can, but I guess I'll have to. Like, Big Al running 202 or 204s right now, and Simmons was caught behind him. So that was probably a fair amount of time lost. Let's see here. So that's where Simmons is. That's where Warburton is. I think they're at completely opposite ends of the track is the unfortunate thing. I can't really figure out where they are in relation to each other. Subtotal is all over the back end of Javier Perez-Torres. So this fight, despite pitting at different points, has not really changed fundamentally. Javier going for the undercut on Subtotal. But fight is still on there for 4th place. I mean, I think Simmons is probably fine. He was quite a ways up on Warburton. And, of course, Warburton's back with Voodoo, who we know got held up by some traffic and had an incident. So chances are Simmons is quite clear. I'm just a little bit worried about, like, he's having to navigate through blue flag traffic. His tires are not great. We're seeing some not super amazing lap times. Let's see what's Warburton do for laps. Yeah, because Warburton just did a 201 flat, one of her best of the race, and a 2-minute flat from Voodoo. So Voodoo is flying right now. 2-minute 1-2-3 lap time last time around. He is flying on those new tires. And comparatively speaking, Simmons is over a 1.5 seconds slower than both of them, so he is bleeding time. Come on, Max, get in the pit lane. Now, you could say he's gonna have the better tires at the end. It's true, but I don't think that that's enough of an advantage to trade off of this, because I think that the problem here is not necessarily the tires. I think it's that he's been caught in traffic a fair bit. He's putting up some not great lap times. He was not that far ahead of Warburton. Let's see. I mean, it might have been working out for a while. I haven't been following it closely enough. I just know that the last 2 laps have not looked great from Simmons from a purely lap time idea. Now he's in clean air now. He's cleared Big Al. He's got some stuff done. He will be pitting pretty damn soon, though, because we are running out of time in the window. Unfortunately, that window clock is not going to be shown here on the replay, but we are running out of time. He's got maybe a lap or 2 before he's got to pit, so it won't be too much longer now. Let's get back to Warburton, and Warburton has just done her best lap of the race. And on her tail is Voodoo. And Voodoo has not done his best lap, but he was 0.3 quicker. Oh, God. It's getting close. I want to get a little closer to this. Let's get the chase cam up. Voodoo looking for a way past. Not happening yet. Warburton mounting a tremendous defense here. And this may also play hugely into the hands of Max Simmons up front, because these 2 cars were putting up great lap times, but they're now in very close proximity to each other. We're in a knife fight at this point. That's going to hurt them lap time-wise. We'll see what the times are next time around. We're getting close to the finish line. We'll see what they did. Warburton still ahead. Battle for British pride, if nothing else. McLaren versus Bentley. And that Italian stallion, Max Simmons in the Ferrari, leading the way here at Silverstone. We're coming up towards the end of what is lap 19 for these 2 cars. They are not lapped, despite what the time... Oh, bit of a mistake there from the Bentley. So Voodoo losing out a little bit there to Warburton. Either that or Warburton's just quite quick through that sector. Possibly the case. And Warburton comes across the line. What is the lap time is the question. So is it 2:0 flat 4? Or probably 2:02.2, 2:02.2. So they are slowing each other down. Like they're 2 seconds off the pace that they were putting up before. So that is cost them time. They are 64 seconds behind Max Simmons, who is still not pitted. So that is not over. Again, I have to emphasize, Max Simmons yet to pit. I think everybody else has, because Postima is now shown in 13th place. He was the other super long runner. So I can give the rundown here. It looks like it is Max Simmons leading the way, but we're still questionable on the pit stop strategy. Oh, it's down to 7 seconds. Hang on, he must have pitted. Okay, so we are pit stop up to date. Max Simmons leading the way from Kate Warburton, Voodoo, Javier Perez Torres, Marcus Subtotal, Kim Johansson, Simsak Beal, Dave Nelson, Daniel Madringa, Big Al, Morpheus, RWB Robert, and Postima. The big loser in the pit stops appears to have been Postima, who got caught up in some faster traffic. The other person who's lost out, I believe, is Nelson, who has lost a spot to Beal as a result of this whole thing. Everyone else, I think, is more or less where they were. RWB Robert getting a spot over Postima at least, but still having a rough day. We'll follow the battle for second place here for a little bit, although I do want to walk in on the fourth place battle as well, because Javi Perez Torres and Marcus Subtotal are only 2/10 apart. Be lovely if they were in the same shot here. Okay, it's up to 6/10 now, so maybe it might be a mistake there from Subtotal. Everyone else is somewhat spread out, so sorry everybody outside the top 5, but this is looking increasingly like your camera time might be a little bit limited, because we got some tense battles going on here. Alright, so what does Warburton do this time around? Because that is a big question for me. Because they had slowed each other down considerably last lap, and I want to see what they can do this time around. Oh! Max! That's Max Simmons! It's Max Simmons spinning off! What happened? Hit the car. Oh no! He misjudged it in Maggotts and Becketts badly! Spins off! The fresh tires! All dirty now! Oh no! What is the gap? Can we get a visual gap back to Warburton? There they are! Warburton and Voodoo are coming through Maggotts and Becketts. Alright. Let's get on board with Mr. Voodoo for a little bit here. Haven't made use of a lot of the inboard camera. So Voodoo on the tail of Warburton. That cost about 3 seconds off the lead for Max Simmons. The boat is coming. Definitely is the fastest car, I think, is my theory, honestly, right now. Although, we got to wonder because, of course, first pitted, they're in reverse order of pit. Simmons is on the freshest tire. Warburton second finish. Voodoo on the is on the oldest pair of tires. But it's interesting because Simmons just did a horrible 360 through Maggotts and Becketts and undoubtedly has damaged the tires at least somewhat with some flat spots and some graining. And that opens the door for Warburton. And we know that Voodoo just is probably the fastest of the three on a single lap pace. I just think he pitted too early. That might sandbag him here. Because, of course, he was held up by Postima considerably, but is still in this fight. So he's got perhaps the speed to deliver here. And in the meantime, Warburton's got probably a self-inflicted tire disadvantage for Simmons to work with. See as we go around here. Looking for a timing line. Looking for a timing line. Can I get a timing line, please? 2:01.5 that last time around for Voodoo. 2:01.3 for Warburton and 2:04.1 for Simmons. Of course, he had the spin. So Warburton was the fastest last time around. And that is Postima off the track, I think. So let's see what happened with him. This is looking absolutely hazardous through Maggotts and Becketts. Let's get to the outside camera, if you please. So let's have a look here. Going through Maggotts and Becketts. Dips a wheel very, very off. Goes across. So that's not going to do the McLaren any favors in terms of the tires. There goes Max Simmons. Holds up nicely, even gets off the track. Okay, it's a good rejoin. It's a good, courteous rejoin, at least. But, needless to say, not what we're interested in. We are interested in the man they call Voodoo. Going to the inside. Can he get the job done against Warburton? Warburton closes the door. Nothing too dramatic. I mean, the question, honestly, here for Voodoo is, do you just kind of lay back a little bit and let Warburton do quick laps? Let yourself do quick laps and bring yourself right back up into the race for the win? Or do you think that despite the tire problem, it also depends. Do they know what happened to Simmons? Do they know that he's probably messed up the tires a little bit? We'll have to check. We'll have to look at the gaps. If the gap starts coming down, I think that's the dead giveaway. But right now it is admittedly at 4.7 seconds still. So he may not be thinking that he has any real hope for the victory and that the fight is really just for British honours here in the battle for second place here, Bentley versus McLaren. And that it's going to be, in fact, yeah, the gap has actually grown to 4.9. But I also think that is partially because they're holding each other up. Be interested to see what the next lap times are around here. What is Simmons doing? What is Warburton doing? What is Voodoo doing? I think this is the focus for the remainder of our time here. Although there is a great fight still going on between Javier Perez-Torres and Marcus Subtotal. They're only a half second apart. It is still Warburton under pressure from Voodoo as we head around for the lap. Starting lap 23 here. Can I get a lap time 2:01.2 for Voodoo? Sorry, hit the wrong button. 2:01.5 for Warburton. 2:08 or 2:08 for Simmons. So Simmons, maybe I was toasting the champagne or denying him the champagne a little bit earlier than I needed to, because he appears to have righted it. It appears the tires are not too bad if he can do 2-minute laps. And I may have been giving bad advice to Voodoo then, because now, with that knowledge in hand, yeah, Voodoo does have to attack Warburton and think about second place and not the win. Subtotal's fallen a little bit back from Javier Perez-Torres, so this is the closest battle and the most important battle on the track right now. Kate Warburton, Jensen Team Rocket RJN, Voodoo representing. Pardon me, I went the wrong way. Representing Team Hive Mind in the Bentley. We'll see what he can do. Certainly a boat worthy of a Hive. That Bentley. The size comparison between these two cars is ridiculous. Although, in fairness, I'm talking smack about the Bentley. I would much rather drive the Bentley in real life than the McLaren, because I don't think I'd fit in that McLaren all that well. I am a larger individual. Although I do look very small compared to my usual co-pilot on these commentaries, Mr. Byron Gigantes. Looking to the inside. That one corner, I feel like either we've seen Voodoo try to line up and overtake there 3 or 4 times now and fail, or his line there is just not very good. And that's going to let Warburton walk away with it a little bit in the last little bit of the lap. As we complete lap 23 here. Gap is up to 5.1 at the front. Simmons is theoretically pulling away, I do believe. 5.4 actually, so he is quite a ways up. Last lap time 2:01.3 for Voodoo, 2:01.2 for Warburton, and 2:01.2. Okay, never mind. He only did about the same lap time as Warburton did. It was a .281 for Warburton, 2:87 for Simmons. So I kind of weirdly, the Warburton and or I shouldn't say and, because Voodoo might have had a slower lap. So Warburton was the fastest of the bunch that time around, but the gap didn't seem to really close all that much. I mean, granted, it was less than 1/10 of a second, so maybe the gap was just larger than I realized at the start of the lap. And in fact, Simmons is pulling away again, up to 5.8 now. And Voodoo still all over the back end. By the way, Johansson is now all over Subtotal, so something happened to Subtotal. we need to. I need to see that a little bit here as Soup Total did a 2:14.5. What happened there? I don't think we can rewind to find out. But please, Mr. Soup Total, hit us up with a comment, because that is a huge drop, and that has opened the door suddenly for the other McLaren of Kim Johansson. Get back to the Warburton fight with Voodoo. Approaching the end of lap 24 here. Gap is down to 5.7, but I think it started the lap at 5.4. So let's see where that is once we get across the line here. 5.9, so it has grown. 2:01.1, 2:01 flat for Voodoo. So Voodoo is faster, although the fastest of the bunch. Max Simmons just pulled out a 2:06 that lap, so he is given the donkey a whip right now to get him to go faster. That is for sure. He would like to eliminate any doubt that this is his race to win. Sorry, I think I just snorted it into the microphone. I do apologize. That was probably not at all pleasant to hear. So a little bit of a gap has formed now. So let's get in with this Soup Total versus Johansson fight. Kim Johansson in 6th place. Soup Total in 5th place. Battle is on between the two. And not terribly far behind this, underreported by me, is Simsak Beal. That black Lexus back there in 7th place is quite close. Dave Nelson has fallen way out of this at 18 seconds back. Has to worry more now about Madringa than anything else, who is in 10th or 9th, and maybe Big Al, although Big Al appears to have fallen quite a ways back as well. Yeah, Big Al is now almost 22 seconds back. I would say that's a bit of a problem. Gap is down to 4.4 at the front, so the gap is closing once again on Max Simmons. But still a fairly comfortable lead, you'd have to say. Approaching the end of his lap here, so let's give the leader some love. How was the lap? That is the question. Was running a 2-minute before. That was a 2:24, so a little bit slower, probably some kind of mistake. Warburton 2:01 flat, Voodoo 2:01.4. So a little bit of ground made up there in terms of the lead. But Simmons still owns a 4.5 second lead. They are coming up to, I want to say it's either RWB Robert up ahead in the yellow lapped car, or that is Big Al, because they are both running predominantly yellow cars. Didn't get a great look at it. We'll see when it might become a late part of this battle. Johansson's been shown the door a little bit by Soup Total, who's built up a 9/10 lead. Oh, Bentley going down the inside! Little squeeze, but no contact. And Warburton retains position. .1, so despite the fight, they seem to be keeping up fairly well and actually closed again on Simmons. Not sure what the deal is with that. I don't want to suggest tire fall off, because I think it would have happened earlier if it was going to off of that spin. Could also just be Max coasting. I mean, he did spin with, we'll put it this way, minimal pressure. And the gap is back up to 5 seconds, actually. So it looks like Simmons has put in a pretty reasonable lap here. Coming across the line. Let's see what it is. Come on, update. Update. There it is. 2015. Nothing spectacular. Warburton did a 2021, so I think probably more Voodoo and Warburton slowing each other down. They're in the 202s that time around. And that allows Simmons to get a little bit further ahead. A little bit sloppy there through Maggotts and Becketts by both cars, by the looks of it. As they head... Oh! That was Simmons off! That was Max Simmons off the track again! What happened to the race leader? The race leader no more! In the 777 Ferrari. He lost it again at Maggotts and Becketts. Looks very similar to the other one. Oh no! A second spin! You can see debris flying up, and that gives Warburton the lead from Voodoo. Suddenly, this has turned into a whole different race. It looked good. It looked like Simmons had this. And it does not now. The race is, strictly speaking, Kate Warburton's to lose, although it has never felt like Warburton has been a competitor for the race win, really. But suddenly, it's all over it. Qualified, I want to say P4. I want to say that was the grid. I want to say it was Voodoo, Simmons, Johansson, then it was Warburton. I don't know what the gap was. So it might have been really, really close. I may be making mountains out of molehills there. But wasn't really in a fight with these two. But I think, honestly, Voodoo messing up his pit stop strategy by going for a super, super undercut. And then Simmons has just absolutely thrown this away. Tragedy for the Ferrari crew, but it does mean that we probably will see a British maker or British mark on the top step of the podium here at Silverstone. It is McLaren, from Bentley, Ferrari, Lexus, Aston Martin, McLaren. 4 British makes in the top, or 4 British made cars in the top 6. Fantastic. It's a shame that Nick Postima in the third McLaren has not had such the day, and of course the V12 Aston Martin of Jay Dice not having a fun day at all. No Jaguars in the field. I believe they are banned from this series. I'm not really sure why, so I guess I'm asking that question on commentary. But this is the battle for the lead, and sorry everybody else, I think I'm sticking with this because this battle has been pretty intrinsically enjoyable from the standpoint of second place, and it's now for the lead. They head down to Stone. I'm going to try and be a little quieter. I think my landlord's knocking on the ceiling to say shut up. So it is the McLaren 720 leading the way right now from the Bentley Continental. So there's Warburton. Traffic coming up. That is RWB Robert, I think. In the Porsche. It is RWB Robert. I was going to say, it was either RWB Robert or Big Al. Big Al, that is not a Ferrari. So that is RWB Robert, who gets very out of the way. Warburton holds here on lap 28. Time is running down here in the race. It will be Warburton, or it will be Voodoo, or will it end in tears? Because I thought a little while ago that it was Max Simmons' to lose. But Simmons is not doing great right now. Let's have a look at what he did after the spin in terms of a lap time. Pardon me, we haven't gotten a lap time for it. We're still on the lap after the spin. He was 2:11 last time around. But I think that gap is still just growing. So Warburton this time around as race leader for the first time across the start-finish line. Or second time, I should say. 2018. Voodoo. 2016. Simmons. Don't have an updated time yet. 2017. So it wasn't the end of the world. He's still got pace. Question is, though, while nursing a relatively large lead Simmons twice went off at Maggotts and Becketts. What happens with him pushing to try to get back to that lead now? That could be interesting. So I'm going to keep my eyes open for that. No real worry from behind. Javier Perez-Torres and Marcus Subtotal are still very out of it. Subtotal seems to have quieted the charge of Kim Johansson. I thought Johansson was going to break him. It did not happen. So Johansson appears to be looking at a 6th place finish. Beal, Nelson, Madringa, Big Al rounding off the top 10. We've lost Postima. That's our 2nd DNF on the day. Jay Dice and Nick Postima out of the race. Here on lap 29. Warburton still hanging on to lead against the Big Bentley of Voodoo. Championship leader, triple podium finisher in the series, Voodoo has one race win. Max Simmons has the other 2. Will we see a 3rd winner in this series here today at Silverstone? Here comes Warburton to the line. I believe this will be the start of the final lap here. Lap 30 to end this race. See what the lap time was. 2:01.7. Oh, little contact, little rub. Voodoo had the run there, but it led to a little bit of contact. I'm not really sure if anyone came across into anybody there. I would say that Voodoo had room to move over, but didn't really seem to want to. But that might have been a door shut from Warburton. And that might have been the last chance, because Warburton's legging it now. Got a little bit of a lead. Simmons is still in 3rd place, but his car is no longer visible on the lead up to Stowe. 6.1 seconds behind Voodoo. Voodoo 7/10. That does not look like 7/10 in my opinion, but that is apparently 7/10. Oh, a little bit of a mistake in there in the chicane. And Warburton is blasting clear. Kate Warburton leads. Time running down. Next time across the finish line is going to declare a winner. Can Warburton finish this off? McLaren 720. I'm wondering, would this be the first win for McLaren in between these 3 tiers? Actually, it might be a GT4 victory actually, because the McLaren 570, of course, is a pretty common, pretty favored GT4 car. But it might be the first win for the 720. One of 3 McLaren cars in this game, of course. You also have the 650, the older GT3 model that was run by Garage 59. It's a shame that Garage 59 is not still with the McLaren team. That's just such an iconic livery. To the finish it goes, and Kate Warburton is your winner here in Silverstone. Well, maybe a screw-up wiggle, but I think Voodoo ended up in the wall. Did he try? Oh, what did he do to try and celebrate here? Did he lose it, or is he he's trying to celebrate, I think. He's trying to do a wiggle for 2nd place and ends up absolutely destroying it. And the final podium spot will go to the Ferrari of Max Simmons, who, in style, gives us a spin. It's a shame you did that twice during the race, Max, because this win probably was yours to call home. Javi Perez-Torres taking 4th for Lexus. Marcus Subtotal. Could have been a better result for him, I think. But he'll take home 5th ahead of Kim Johansson, and that is the end of the replay. Simsock Beal, 7th place. Dave Nelson, 8th. Daniel Madringa, 9th. Big Al in 10th. Morpheus in 11th. And RWB Robert in 12th place. That is the final result here from Silverstone in the 3rd tier of the Super Series Championship. Going to give you a quick rundown of the standings here. Voodoo Child, I assume that is Voodoo anyways, leading the way with 293 over Johansson, 249. Simsock Beal in third place on 257. Javier Perez Torres with 253. 246 for Daniel Madringa. Then it is Morpheus 232. 230 for Marcus Subtotal. Dave Nelson on 229. 226 for Max Simmons, who that DNF and Nürburgring continues to haunt. And then Alan Gooch, who I am assuming is Big Al, although it is showing that he finished in 11th place. Is that Morpheus? Perhaps? Is that perhaps Morpheus? No. Alright, so something happened apparently after the replay, because Morpheus is listed as 10th place ahead of Big Al. So something did a reversal there. Or pardon me, no, yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm right in saying that. Okay, interesting. Interesting note of the top 10 in the championship. Big Al is the only one that didn't finish in the top 10 today. Kate Warburton was the exception. This appears to have been the debut for Warburton. So hell of a debut in the RWB Super Series to take a victory home. And that appears to be it. So next up will be round 5 at Paul Ricard. I hope to compete there. We will see. It depends on what I can do with the pedal problem. That being said, if I can't race, there is a chance that I would do something in terms of a live commentary. So get ready for that. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Let me know how you like this. If it's worth doing this in the future if we have no live recording. And obviously I'll be still back at you with Tier 2, but probably not for a little bit.